300-pound poetry. Coming out of Easter weekend, we did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. Ovechkin iced the Habs with a beautiful overtime goal. Then the Oilers blew their game after digging themselves out of a hole. John Cena broke Ric Flair's record 17 times. He dons the WWE belt. Fans were disappointed as The Rock didn't bother to show up. The Pope just passed away on Easter. Shannon Sharp accused of sexual assault. We can't cover it all. And that's not our fault. Because we are Chevy and nasty. Over the average person, we tower. This ride is our show. We try to keep it to an hour. 300-pound poetry coming out of Easter weekend. We did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. But Ovechkin iced the Habs with the beautiful overtime goal. Then the Oilers blew their game after digging themselves out of a hole. John Cena broke Ric Flair's record 17 times. He owns the WE belt. Fans were disappointed as The Rock didn't bother to show up. The Pope just passed away on Easter. Shannon Sharp accused of sexual assault. We can't cover it all. And that's not our fault. Because we are Chevy and nasty. Over the average person, we tower. This ride is our show. We try to keep it to an hour. 300-pound poetry coming out of Easter weekend. We did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. Ovechkin iced the Habs. Ovechkin the one to bow. Ovechkin iced the Habs. Ovechkin the one to bow. Ovechkin iced the Habs. 300-pound poetry coming out of Easter weekend. We did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. But Ovechkin iced the Habs.
Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napastka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
And yes, welcome back to The Ride, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night at 10:30 Mountain Standard Time. And yeah, Chef, coming out of Easter, we did do some big eating. I mean, not together. It's not like we spend our holidays together or anything like that, but definitely did some big eating. What was the best thing? What was the best meal you ate?
I went to Drayton Valley, spent Easter with Brittany's family, and we had turkey, ham, and Brittany's sister-in-law's mom was in. It was a big family affair. She brought a homemade tortilla. So we had all kinds of food, and it was wrapped around the night before. We had a wing night. So we had a wing cookout. I mean, we just had so much food. And Brittany's sister-in-law is also a baker. So there was cheesecake, muffins, apple crumble. Yeah. Like, I can't even begin it. And, you know, I've been trying to give up sugar since, for Lent. I gave it up for Lent. And, Easter weekend, I usually give myself a pass. So I had all kinds of desserts. But I'm a little stuck, and I got to get rid of these pretty quickly. I'm stuck on the $10 bag of Cadbury mini eggs that I bought at Walmart, the Easter one. So they were like a $20 bag for $10. I couldn't pass up that deal. And I got to finish these things so I can get back on my no sugar thing because, I'm going to Vegas in June and I want to make sure I look good, but yeah, just all the meat in the world. We had turkey, ham, tortilla. You can't beat it. What about you?
But well, we did the same thing, turkey. In fact, I had, you know how we talked about my mom's turkey meal growing up was sometimes a little on the dry side, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I didn't realize it as a kid, but as I got older and I learned to brine turkeys and the proper way to handle a big bird, I got to serve my mom basically a Thanksgiving turkey dinner with all the sides, and yeah, pulled it off, nailed it. She loved it
Nice.
and sent her home like to the point where she's like, Sheldon, that's probably the best turkey dinner I've ever had.
No
And when your mom
way.
says that, yes, yes. And when your mom says that, you know you nailed it. A lot of help from my wife, of course, doing the finishing touches on the on the gravy and everything like that. But yeah, pulled it off great. Off the air, I'm going to ask you about that tortilla thing because I don't know what a tortilla is. Or what
Tortilla,
it
it's a
looks
meat
like.
pie, a Quebec meat pie. So it's got ground pork, cinnamon, a little bit of different spices, and then it's a pie. It's just a meat pie. You eat it with ketchup. It's a very traditional Quebecois dinner, and I didn't know that this was coming. So when I heard we were having meat pie on top of all the other traditional stuff, I was like in heaven, man. And you could put ketchup on it. You could put
Yeah,
maple syrup. It's
sure,
really
why
good.
not?
Like, if you ever go to like a Quebec sugar shack, which is very popular this time of year, like the cabane à sucre or the sugar shack, where you go get the maple syrup off the snow, that's one of the traditional things that you would eat there. So I was in heaven with the amount of food, and not just the food, but the family and the fun that we had was good. But I want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
I know we always touch on it, but because I don't remember it all, are you a gravy and turkey guy or a cranberry and turkey?
Oh, both. Yeah,
But
you
what's
got
the like?
do
Yeah, like I put
you
my
got
gravy on my potatoes. The
yeah,
gravy goes on my potatoes.
yeah.
The cranberry goes on the turkey.
Okay,
That's how I
so
do it.
you've got your turkey, you've got the great trifecta of your turkey, your mashed potatoes, and beside that in a triangle is your stuffing. And the gravy, of course, goes mostly on the mashed potatoes, but it drizzles down into the middle of the other ones. And
Mm.
trust me, guys, I've talked about it last year. If you brine a turkey, which my secret ingredient is some cinnamon, you don't taste it, but it adds a brightness to it. It
Yeah,
comes out in the gravy is fantastic. So
yeah.
you've got the brightness and the saltiness of the gravy. Then off to the side, you have your cranberries. You just scoop a little bit of cranberry in to sweeten each bite because you mix everything
Oh man.
in a bite. And like Todd Kozak says, too much fun, not enough workouts. Definitely, I did not work out this weekend.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna I think we're gonna get started in the next day or two, get back on
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah, I threw one or two in, but I had the big migraine today, so I didn't get one in today. But yeah, we'll get to that. The Easter weekend, whether you celebrate Easter or not, it's a long weekend. People generally spend it with their families. It's a good time to reconnect, and reconnecting over food is amazing. But also reconnecting over the ride with Chevy and Nasty is amazing too. So guys, welcome to Dine and Dash Dad. Chad Smith's in the house. Ernie Regis in the house. Bruno was in early, and Todd Kozak. Thanks for joining us, guys, and everyone else is going to join us slowly. It is our 72nd episode, and with episode 72, we like to bring up some of the great 72s to ever wear a sports jersey. And tonight we're looking at Bernie Morrison, linebacker for the Calgary Stampeders. Let's talk about Bernie. Bernie was there for a long time, and I think he wore it the longest. I believe it was 11 years for the Stamps. Have you ever had a chance to meet Bernie? I'm not sure if he's.
I've met him before. I don't know him well. Like he's one of those names that you always know as like one of the great Stampeders. In fact, you even go like I was checking out his LinkedIn just to kind of figure out where he was now. Even now in his LinkedIn, where he's doing some amazing things in business in Calgary, a real coach and mentor in business to business sales. But what he has on the bottom when he talks about his 10 years with the Stamps, his 2 years or two-time President's Ring winner.
Ooh, that's a big one.
That's big for anybody with the Stamps. Does not always go to the best player on the team. It's always usually a high profile guy, but it really is the embodiment of the Stampeder ambassador to the city, the guy that does everything right on the field. The guys love him. Off the field, he gives his heart and soul to the community. And Bernie Morrison, absolute legend, two-time President Ring winner, and I think I think you're right. It was an 11-year career. So get on Bernie. But we got some other 72 here too.
Yeah, at the bottom we got Bobrovsky, and we saw what he did to the Oilers last year in the playoffs. One of the highest paid goalies in the league, and he struggled a little bit early in that series last year against the Oilers, and then he took over, and it became close. Went to Game 7, but he sure is worth his weight in gold, as they say. And on top of his performance and some others, the Florida Panthers got their Stanley Cup last year. So Bobrovsky's a big one. And then at the top, the big man that gave many big men hope that they could carry a ball one day, William the Refrigerator Perry. And this is one of those athletes for me, Sheldon. I didn't watch football in the 80s. It wasn't on. It wasn't in Montreal.
I watched
the story.
I watched the Bears.
But this guy, the Refrigerator Perry, to me, was one of those crossover athletes that it didn't matter if you watched football, you knew who he was. He was a G.I. Joe, for God's sakes. I have his G.I. Joe action figure. He had a football with a chain and a spike. Like, there wasn't a lot of crossover back then between brands as they do now. Now you got sneaker companies with Star Wars, and you got NFL with, I don't know, Nickelodeon. Back then they didn't do that, but he was one of the few. Him and actually Sergeant Slaughter, two guys that I love G.I. Joe, right? So
speaking of Sergeant Slaughter, did the Fridge ever make it into WWF back then? Like, because he would have been a perfect candidate, other than maybe not the most athletic guy. Did he ever make it into wrestling?
I'm not sure. His claim to fame for me was getting the ball on the goal line there, and obviously he had the ridiculous nickname, right? The Refrigerator. What a great name. Hey, like.
Line though, do you know what? I never thought about this until probably 10 years ago. His other claim to fame was taking away maybe an assured touchdown from Walter Payton and his chance to score in the Super Bowl. Payton didn't have any other rushing touchdowns in that Super Bowl. And it took a little bit of criticism for that, of going with the novelty. His argument was everybody in the arena expected Payton to get the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And he kind of stood through that through the years afterwards. But that's like Trace
Seahawks. I was gonna say that's like Trace Seahawks, right? You know, when they could have put the ball in Marshawn Lynch's hands, and everyone says everyone in the building knew it was going to Marshawn. But sometimes, like you said, Sheldon, you still got to give it to your horses, right?
But you know what? It worked.
Yeah,
it worked, and they both got rings. So and Walter, Payton, I believe, lived longer than the Fridge did too. But
is he? He's not alive anymore. Oh, geez, I should know that.
So. I don't think
we'll get Trey at the end to correct us. Guys, every week we're brought to you by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. You can also find us on all social media platforms at Chevy and Nasty. And tomorrow, tell your friends they can download our show. If they don't want to watch the video, they can download it on YouTube, or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. Trey, we're going to get the poem rolling here. You heard the rap in the intro. It's always based on the poem. So let's get this 70-second, 300-pound poetry going, Trey.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
We did some big eating. We are your 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting.
The NHL playoffs begun. So place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite, I think, looks like the Winnipeg Jets.
Ovechkin iced the Habs with a beautiful time goal. And then the Oilers blew their game after digging out of that deep, deep hole. Oh, yeah.
Heartbreaking. John Cena broke Ric Flair's record 17 times. He's the WWE Championship belt. But WrestleMania fans were very underwhelmed, as even The Rock didn't make the President's belt.
The Pope just passed away on Easter. World Junior trials begin for assault. We can't cover it all, and that is not our fault.
Because we're Chevy and Nasty. Over the average person, we do tower. The ride is our show, and we'll try to keep it to an hour. I think we blew that poem tonight. I couldn't even hear you. Like, I don't know if it's my internet again.
Your internet's starting to go a little bit again.
My kids aren't even home tonight.
We're going to have to get a tech in there. I just can't believe you combined the Pope passing away with World Junior trial sex assaults.
Well, I almost had Shannon Sharp in there for rape, but I figured I couldn't rhyme something with rape. So I made it assault.
Speaking of assault, where do you want to start off? Do you see the Oilers games last night?
Yeah, let's start with that one. That was the one that was more dramatic, I'd say. And I was up all night.
Yeah, and I can tell already there's a few Oiler fans in the crowd there tonight, like in the jersey. Guys, I tell you what, Yeah, Skinner wasn't at his best at times, but this one was on me. We talked about there you go, Trey. We talked about how you got to be ready for the playoffs and you got to be zeroed in. The regular season doesn't matter. I came in a little bit complacent last night, Chev. As a fan, I didn't have the jersey on. I didn't have a special meal. I had the TV on in the background. I kind of came and went in the first period. And so I think my influence on the team was they weren't ready to go. And I'm going to own some of that. I actually at one point walked away and I didn't watch the second period. It wasn't until probably about 5-10 minutes left in the third that my wife comes in. She's like, "Oh my God, they're within 2."
Well, I'll tell you,
what a comeback.
Yeah, what a comeback. I mean, was the comeback by the Oilers or was the comeback by Connor McDavid? Because they looked terrible. For 2 periods, they looked terrible. I was home. I got home from football practice. I missed most of the Montreal Canadiens game. We can briefly touch on that one in a second. But I missed most of that game. I went down to my gym. I turned on the game, and the Oilers had 8 shots on net by literally a minute left in the second period. I mean, it looked bad from the start. You talk about not being ready. You talk about not getting off the bus. The Oilers surely looked like that. And if it wasn't for some real late game heroics by Connor McDavid, it wouldn't have even been that close. And so I don't know what to say about this Oilers team. Are they the team that can put on 5 goals in 21 minutes? Or are they the team that plays for about 39 minutes and does nothing with the best players in the world, and they can't generate more than 8 shots on net? And then they have a goalie that, if you throw a beach ball at him, it's going in right now.
Oh,
like,
God.
Who are they? Who are they?
Well, and that's just the thing when McDavid turned it on, like it was ridiculous. Like I said, I skipped the entire second period. I didn't watch it. I missed the first half of the third. Just because it was so bad. I had work to do. I had other things to do. I was already like mailing it in. But to watch how that guy can just like transcend the ice and just take over. Like you haven't really seen that from him in a long time, probably since, sometime last year. I'm not sure we've ever seen that kind of a performance this year. The question is it like, did he just say, screw it to the system, let it all break down? And does he just have that ability to turn it on at any time? And is that a winning formula? Like, can you count on him to be the man every night? I guess you got to hope it inspires some of the guys because they were going pretty equal ice time through the rest of the game, right? There was some talk about, okay, we're not going to win this with just McDavid. We got to get everybody to show up. But guess what? Nobody else showed up.
Well, and
so
that's
you got to let your best be the best.
He gets 20 minutes or almost 24 minutes of ice time in a game. And if a team figures out how to shut him down, then they've shut down not only him, but they've shut down everyone else, because everyone else that may have talent or may have the hot hand or may have an ability to score isn't on the ice. So I always find that's an issue when you're giving one guy all that ice time. If they shut him down or he has a bad night, you're still riding him to the end. But in this case, it worked riding him because no one else was giving that effort. But their fourth line sparked them with a goal, and then it started to open up for them. But yeah, how heartbreaking is that? You score that goal right at the end. I believe there was a minute. Was there a minute and a half left in the game? Yeah. When they scored their 5th goal, and then yes, there was a few. Let me see.
I thought you were talking about the next one. Yeah,
and then the other one was 45 seconds left. So, I was watching that game. I said I switched to the Colorado Dallas game because that one was very exciting. That was it was tied. It was going into overtime. I texted Trey. I said, "Let me know if something's happening." I get one, "Oh my God, Connor McDavid" text. I'm like, okay, they're bringing it closer. And then I get another one that was like an OMG with like a million G's and exclamation points. I knew something good was happening. I didn't want to come back from the overtime, but then I was like, oh geez, I think they tied this up. They're going to go to overtime. So I went back to the Oilers game, and about a minute and a half later, the Kings score, whatever it was. And it was like, Trey was still celebrating with his dad, popping the champagne that they're going to overtime. And then next thing you know, the Kings ice it. And then I go back to the Colorado game, and Colorado loses, and I really wanted Colorado to win. So yeah, it was a tough night overall in the NHL. If you're an Oilers fan, you got to be heartbroken. And I don't know, like, what's the identity of this team, Sheldon, before we move on? What do they got to do to win the next one?
It better be a lot different than their identity was during the regular season. They're healthier now. That's good. They still have suspect goaltending. I see people calling for change the goalie in net here, which I think isn't that what happened last year in Vancouver? They pulled Skinner, and it totally changed the way. So I mean, maybe you do try something like that, right? You definitely
is game one too early? If you're the head coach, if you're Knobloch, is game one too early to do that? Like, do you mess with your goaltender's head for the entire series if you do it after game one? I mean, he wasn't the only one that played terribly. Like, whoever was on the ice at the end there, you don't let a guy skate in, a third man skate in free. It doesn't matter whether it was a knuckleball, and that's the other thing. The shot was an off-speed shot. It was knuckleball, and I don't think he was ready for the speed or the change up. But that dude came in free and clear. I mean, it was a 3-on-2 with defensemen chasing back. So as much as Skinner is probably going to be the scapegoat for this one, a lot of guys are to blame for sloppy play. A lot of guys are to blame for sloppy play in that. Well, let's move on from the others. When are they playing next? I think they're playing. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow night they're going to be on, and so will the Montreal Canadiens playing in their second game. That's my team. I missed most of that game when I went to football practice, but they had a comeback. They were down. And Alex Ovechkin proved that he's the GOAT. We talked about him the last 2 weeks running as he was approaching Gretzky's record, as he broke Gretzky's record. And this guy seems to be on a high because he's scoring at will. And unfortunately, right now, as good as Montembeault was for the Canadiens, as young and energetic as they are, they're going to have to figure something out quick. One, to stop Alex Ovechkin, and two, to give back some of the physicality. Because I watched that first period, and the Habs were getting beaten up. It looked like an adult team versus a midget hockey team. Like, they were getting crushed at every opportunity. Demidov got wiped off. That should have been a penalty. But any time the Canadiens had the puck, they were getting crushed. And they need an answer for that. They definitely need an answer for that.
Yeah. Outside of that, anything else you're following? The Jets look good. The Jets look great.
The Jets look good. You know what? Last week you were hoping that they get out of the first round. A real promising start for them against St. Louis. I watched that game on Saturday. They looked really good, and then came home yesterday. I didn't even realize that game 2 was yesterday, and happily surprised to see that they won. Let me ask you this: we want Canadian teams to win. Maybe of our least favorite Canadian teams, we talk about the Leafs. At least I do. I don't know if that's your position as well, but I love the Habs. I'm loving the Oilers. I want the Jets to win. I could see Ottawa going. I'd like to see Ottawa going, but then the Leafs laughs. But when we talk about American teams, if you had to pull for an American team, if you had to root for one that you'd like to see go to the Cup final, who's your American team? There's a lot of good ones to choose from.
Yeah, you know what? I like some of the teams that have caused the Flames or the Oilers troubles in the past, just because you get to know them and you respect them so much the way they play. So if there's, I'll give you two. I'm a big Colorado fan. I love seeing them when they're going at full speed, and the same as with the Panthers. I still love Kachuk. I love Bennett. Bobrovsky, they're just so much fun to watch that if Canada doesn't advance, I just like to see the great stories and the great players.
Yeah. I like that. For me, I always have an affinity for Vegas Golden Knights. I went to a playoff game. I think I mentioned that in the past, in their first season when they went on their run. It was one of the most phenomenal hockey experiences I have ever had up until that point. So I really have a soft spot for Vegas. I like Colorado. I'm with you. I like Colorado. I'd like to see them get by Dallas. I felt, I turned on that game yesterday just to see a good game, and I instantly knew which team I was pulling for. I wanted Colorado to win. Teams that I could care less about: Carolina, New Jersey, the Wild. Bleh. I don't like Washington. Bleh. Yeah, Toronto and Tampa, Florida and Tampa kind of intrigues me. I like Tampa. My buddy Matthew Darsh is the assistant GM there. They've always been good, but they lost big time tonight against Florida, so they're in tough. But yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I learned something yesterday about myself. I could care less about regular season NHL hockey. Like, it's not must see TV for me. Must watch TV. Like, yeah, I like watching the Habs games when I can. But I tell you what, I was really intrigued last night. Like, so much so that when the Habs game wasn't on like regular CBC, I was like, dang it. And you know me, how cheap I am. I bought the Rogers app, and I'm like, I'm in for the playoffs. And I was excited yesterday watching all these games. I was choked that tonight, by the time I got back from football, all the games were done. That kind of bugged me because, in the past, you'd always have a late game. Way back, they used to do the Eastern games on one night, the Western games on the other night. And then they kind of mixed it up. So you'd always have an early game and a late game. And tonight there's only early games. So I was a little bit pissed off about that. So hopefully tomorrow night, there's going to be some good hockey. But
it's a different game in the playoffs for sure. But I think with that, Chev, I think we're going to go to break here. We went a little bit over on our first segment, but I think we're doing okay. Well, so thanks for sticking around with us through the first, guys. Now it's time to take a little snack, grab yourself a drink, do your thing, and we're going to be back here. Coming up here just about 120 seconds, 90 seconds. Trail fact checking. We'll see you guys here just around the corner.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
welcome back to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty every Tuesday night, 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Guys, thanks for joining us live. Those of you that are throwing in the comments, I know you're very passionate about your hockey. You're very passionate about your sports and politics and pop culture. One of the things we're passionate about and why we started this show is men's mental health. And coming up May 22nd, we got the Men's Mental Health Movie Night, our second annual movie night. And I believe it's confirmed. I don't know if it's confirmed, but we're going to have Brett Gardner, Ryan Huska, Chevy, and Nasty. This is brought to you by Performance Freight Management and the Men's Mental Health Movement. We're going to have tons of sponsors, tons of food, tons of prizes. What else? We're going to have a free movie. It's the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. And again, guys, it's all free. So start looking at our socials. We're going to be posting the link to the Eventbrite. All we ask is that when you say you're coming, you come. Last year we had 100 people in one theater. It was a fantastic night. This year we're going to have it in 2 theaters, so we're hoping to double that number, just about 200 people. It's going to be a great night. Those of you that came last year know it was fun. Tell a friend, bring a friend. Sheldon, anything else on the Men's Mental Health Movie Night?
No, it's just I'm looking. That's one of the events that I look forward to. It's a ton of fun, and it's always it's always fun to meet people for the first time and just and network, get to know some of you guys that have been listening for the last year, get to see some of you guys again that were there last year. It's just a great night. So yeah, make sure you reserve your seats now because last year they went fast.
Yeah, and also beyond meeting people for the first time, seeing some friends that you haven't seen in a long time. I thought that was great too. Like for me, there was a bunch of guys I had no clue were coming. and they showed up, and it was just such a pleasant surprise. And you and I both have real busy lives, and you walk around and you do your thing, and you kind of have your bubble. This is part of my bubble. The show's part of my bubble. I see you at least once a week on the show. We talk at least 2 or 3 times a week if we can. Daryl, Trey, but there's people that I don't see that I would love to see. I don't have time. And that was a great opportunity to see those people. And I'm glad we're doing this again. It's pretty exciting, and we would love to see you guys there. So we're going to put the link out pretty soon for getting your tickets. So snap them up, because Sheldon said we already have about 80 tickets sold, spoken for, if I'm not mistaken, and new sponsors coming aboard every week. It's really cool, and it's getting bigger and bigger. We don't know where we're going to do next.
We got WestJet's behind us now too. We got WestJet sponsoring this.
WestJet, and cool. I didn't make it official because I want to make sure that we have all the details, because you and I, we like to talk without even knowing the facts. Then we need Trey to correct us, but we don't want to get Daryl on to correct us. Like, we don't want to say something like, WestJet is giving away a flight anywhere around the world, and it's not true. So
they are, eh? No. You heard it here first.
They're giving away a plane. We're giving away a plane.
The other thing from the playoffs, we had the final debate and open up the voting season. I guess record numbers going for early voting. Did you go vote this weekend, or were you too busy being out of town?
Oh yeah, no, I got in from Drayton Valley. I dropped my boys off at their mom's house, and then I went straight to vote. That was circled on my calendar to do. I was ready. I went to here in Silver Springs, where I live, down at the school down the road. And it wasn't too busy when I got there. I'm not gonna lie. I got there at about 4 p.m.
On what day was that? Was that yesterday?
On Sunday. It was Easter Sunday though. But I'm sure that Good Friday, or at least Saturday and Monday, was packed, because I heard
we went yesterday evening, and it was busy, but I mean, there was no real lines. It's so organized. I actually like the way Canada does their elections. Like, you see some things where people are like, "Oh, they're giving you pencils." Well, I brought my own pen, just to be sure my vote was counted.
They had pencils. They had pen and pencil at my station.
Oh, did they? There
the
you
guy
go.
even said, I said, "You guys got pencils there?" He's like, "Pens and pencils." And it was so funny. There was a guy ahead of me, and I was waiting in line, and he was there with his family, and you could see the panic in his eyes when he realized he put a check mark and not an X. And he's like, "Oh my God." Like, he was, and the guy said, "Don't worry about it. We'll count that as a spoiled vote, and we'll do another one." So he didn't. They spoiled, but that little moment right there showed me how important this election is to everyone, no matter what you vote, no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall. This is an important vote for you, and you should go out and exercise your right to vote. Whether if you're informed. But most people are informed to how they're going to want to be informed. So you can find all the information for your point of view you want. That's how it works these days, right? By next Tuesday, and I don't want to spend a ton of this time on this now, because by next Tuesday, people. So there's going to be a portion of the population that's going to feel the way Oilers fans felt yesterday. Oh, we're making a comeback, and then we lost. Someone's going to feel like that. I don't know if it's going to be the blue side, the red side, or the orange side, but there's going to be some people feeling like that next week, and we'll talk about that. Other big events over Easter weekend. The Pope passed away. We talked about that in our poem. That's a big deal, right? Like, Catholicism, I think, has been on the decline, but it's still a huge presence in Western society. The Pope is a huge figure for the Catholic Church and sort of that institution. I mean, I was raised Catholic, Roman Catholic. I'm less practicing, but more in faith than. I don't know where I sit. I'm still spiritually questioning.
Let me ask you that though. So growing up Catholic, is that a big part of your life? Like, were your mom and dad always aware of who the Pope was? And
yeah.
And do you like follow newsletters or things like that? Is it like
well, when the Pope came to Montreal in the 80s, that was a huge deal. Like the Olympic Stadium, when Pope John Paul came to the Olympic Stadium in the 80s, that's where Celine Dion, she was I think she was 13 years old or 9 years old. That's where she sang for the Pope, and it was a big deal. Like it was I don't even know. Like, even bigger than when they say the Queen comes to Alberta.
That's
You know
what I
how
was going to
big-
ask you. That's what I was
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
ask you.
bigger
That's
than
the-
that.
because I wasn't Catholic. We grew up in the Christian faith and went to church, but we weren't Catholic. So I was wondering, is that as big as Queen
Huge,
Elizabeth? Is it
huge.
bigger? Is it? Yeah.
Huge. I mean, people make pilgrimages to Rome every year to go to the Vatican to witness mass from the Pope, and people come from all over the world to meet this person. At the time was John Paul, and then I believe Pope Benedict, and then I don't think there was any others after
No, I think that was
Benedict
it.
and
And Pope
Francis.
Francis. Yeah.
And Pope John Paul was even there was an assassination attempt on him, right?
Yeah.
That's why the Pope Mobile was created.
Yeah.
But this Pope was a little different. He was a little bit more modern. I think he rubbed some of the traditionalists the wrong way, but I do like a lot of what he did and how he said things. A lot of people will disagree with him, but I think he was trying to bring the Catholic Church to the modern ages. I mean, it's one of those things. If you have, we talk about all the time with the CFL, if people aren't coming to the game, you got to find a way to make it more entertaining for them. And I know when you talk about religion and faith, you can't tweak it too much, but I thought that he did a really good job of trying to get more people involved, understanding their faith, and also a little bit more introducing empathy and sympathy for people.
Bit of a different
and-
voice for sure.
Yeah,
You know what I liked
but-
about him though? Like, and again, I'm not Catholic. I don't plan to. My kids go to Catholic school, but didn't he? I think what I heard about him was he went and where all the Cardinals used to be out of the major centers and the major traditional Catholic centers, that he went into more South American cities and promoted people from smaller centers around the world, which I always thought was a good idea. If you're ever feeling like you're detached from your faith leader or whatever the case may be, give it back to the people. And yeah, he made some controversial decisions. He softened what a lot of the more conservative hardliners would have liked to have seen, I'm sure. But just giving Cardinals and giving representation in some of the places that were a little less traditional, I think that's probably going to do it some good in terms of building the brand, if you may. Not to call religion a brand, but
it is. And I mean, he was of Latin American descent, so obviously he had a connection there. Some of the things that I appreciated about him that I knew is that, he lived a more simple life. Like, he chose not to live in the big apartment style,
style,
splendor palace style that they provide him in the Vatican. He just wanted a very simple apartment. He was practical. And he talked about the controversial stuff, like, the homosexuality that, obviously the Catholicism condemns, but there are lots of people that are homosexual that would claim to be Catholic. And, he found ways to build bridges. He said, well, I can't, I was looking at an interview and he said, listen, we cannot bless the union of two homosexuals because that's not in our Catholic faith, but we can bless the people because they're people. And things like that, those little, when I used to listen to the lessons of Jesus, and again, being, coming off of Easter and stuff, whenever people challenged Jesus, and he always had a real simple way of flipping it back to them to make them stupid for asking the question, because they were trying to trap him. Like, when they ask him, well, do you say you're are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus would turn back, you just said that I am. So I guess, and so I thought that his answers were very Jesus-like, very simple, and they stripped away all the BS, and it's like very truthful, and I appreciated that about him. But yeah, he passes away. A funeral on Saturday, big, humongous funeral, probably against what he would want. He'd probably prefer something simple, and then begins the process of selecting the new pope, which I guess all the cardinals locked themselves in a room for days on end.
Yeah. And they just had a movie come out about that, didn't they?
Yeah, there's a couple.
I might have to actually go out and watch that now. I think they're on Netflix. It doesn't have a movie.
I believe it's Ralph Fiennes is in that one, and there was a real great one with Anthony Hopkins a few years ago, and it's the story of the two popes, of Benedict and Francis, and it's actually real. I believe it was on Netflix. Really, really good. But yeah, so that happened, which is big world news.
You know what else happened?
What else happened?
I don't know. I don't even know how to transition this one.
Go
Did
ahead.
you hear about Shannon Sharp?
Yeah,
Remember, I think it was about a year ago today that probably going to go to hell for switching topics like this, but a year ago today, roughly, where he got busted on going Instagram live while getting intimate with his getting freaky deaky with his then partner.
Yep.
Now this week comes out allegations of sexual assault, unconsensual sexual acts between him and, I believe it's the same girl, is it not?
I'm not sure if it's the same girl, but this is on again, off again relationship, and she's identified as Jane Doe, and facing $50 million rape lawsuit. Trey says not the same girl.
Not the same girl. Right.
This is on the heels, I believe, of him signing a $100 million deal. Shannon released a whole bunch of real saucy text messages from Jane Doe towards him. It appears they had a pretty is the word lewd sexual relationship and a sexual back and forth. This one, it kind of smells a little bit, and it's being played out in the public. Yeah. And looks like, as of today, I think this was from yesterday, but looks like he's ready to countersue. And, he's saying this is all just a shakedown. Everything that they did was consensual. There was no rape. And, does this happen? Do people shake celebrities down for money?
And that's interesting. Guys, I don't think we're going to read verbatim the text, but I'll tell you what, these are this is the most graphic text line that I think I've ever seen released to the public before. Yeah. And in his defense, and I'm not taking his defense, but in his defense, at least he's putting it out there. There's this long history of some really raunchy, rowdy stuff going on between them. But yeah, Chev, you're right. Like, and in a lot of cases, and I'll tell you what, we're not trying definitely on the ride with Chevy Nasty. This thing is going to have to go to the courts. They're going to have to figure it out. But yeah, a couple of things. He did sign that $100 million deal. He did just not break up with her, but say, no, I will not have a child with you. And that was in the last few months. And his argument is that, okay, so since I said I won't have a child with you, and since I've signed that $100 million deal, I think I'm being set up here. Because if you look at the text line that she sent to him about the regret and no means no, this is no different than anything else that we've done over the last couple of years. Chev, how do you, this is such an interesting day that we live in, where absolutely sexual assault is the hardest thing to prove because nobody was there to witness it. So it really is a he said, she said thing. But in so many cases, you get the feeling that the woman's just got thrown to the side. Maybe she made a bad decision. Maybe she was an absolute victim and couldn't get away from a situation. And you've got to listen to both sides. But this one, I don't know. This one feels a little bit like looking like he's being treated like a payday. I don't know. Is that fair to say? Can you see that?
When I was in the NFL, that was a common theme. I went to the rookie symposium where they prepare guys for the stardom, the fame, and the money. And that was one of the things that they warned against, that a lot of people will go after these athletes to, for lack of a better term, the payday, the child support payments, the kids, and it's not good. It happened with, look at the player, was it Xavier Worthy? That his ex tried to blackmail him and all this stuff, but he had it all on film, and he had the private investigator when he threw her out of the house and all this stuff. Like, that stuff happens. And this one smells. The problem with this is that Shannon Sharp's life for the last year seems to be being played out in public, and it's becoming more of a soap opera than the tale of real people here. You almost strip away the empathy, even though you should have empathy for both people, and you should, like you said, due process and all that. It seems more spectacle than reality. And that's where it's hard. You wind up wanting to pick a side because it's being played out like a show, like wrestling. Like, who's the good guy in this? Who's the bad guy?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's how I come down on this. And again, I shouldn't even have to defend my position on this one, but my position is this: like Reagan just wrote it, 95% chance this was a setup. Yeah, and I agree. Do you know why? One, there was no police involvement. It's a lot different to me when people go to the police first and get shut down, or they won't investigate, and then you go back with a civil suit. If there's police involvement early on, I really put a lot of credence on that, because that's tough to go to the police and know that you're going to have to potentially face a criminal court to prove your allegations. But you know what I really come down on this one, Chev? You know how if you've ever gone to a psychologist's office, or your kids have gone to a psychologist's office, whenever you have somebody in a power position and somebody who's not, separate sex, whatever, what do they have in that room? They have a camera, Chev. They have a camera. What happened in our police forces over the last 15 to 20 years? Every jurisdiction is wearing body cameras.
Yeah.
I think, let me ask you this. Are we getting to the day and age where before you enter any kind of sexual meeting, encounter, you have to say, hold on one sec, let me flip on the camera? Do we need a camera just to prove our innocence or victimhood in these kind of situations? Is that what we're getting to? Because I'll tell you what, this he said, she said things suck. It sucks for the victim, but sometimes the victim could be either side. Do we need to start recording these events just so that we have proof for the record?
They may have to. Because you don't know what to believe anymore. If we flip and just closer to home, we look today, there was the jury selection for the 5 members of the World Junior team that were charged in sexual assault. And this one, the victim in this, or are we supposed to say the alleged victim? But
the alleged victim. The
alleged victim in this one, she reported it to police immediately. But then there was that payout, right? That's what shook the whole Team Canada organization, is that they literally had a sexual assault fund to pay out victims. And that's what brought that whole organization down, where they had to change everything. And now here they are, guys with careers. Not all of them made it to the NHL, but, people will know Dylan Dubé here in Calgary for sure. He was having a decent career in Calgary, and I think Cal Foote was Cal Foote with the Jersey Devils, I believe, or was that Formanton? But yeah, all these guys were high-profile athletes at the time. Some of them went on to play in the NHL, some of them in the KHL, but their trial is set to begin, and the jury selection was today. And in this case, this one smells a little differently than the Shannon Sharpe case, if you know what I mean. This one, it's less of a who's the good guy in this one. This is a real sad case for everyone involved. These guys were all young guys at the time, not to make excuses for whatever they did, but probably didn't know. I don't know if they probably didn't have the mentorship to tell them, hey, you don't do that stupidity, right? Yeah. If they did it. And this young woman probably had no clue what she was walking into. And this whole thing is going to be a very sad affair when it's all said and done. Whereas when I look at the Shannon Sharpe thing, I'm like, you got two people that it doesn't seem as reality based. Organic.
You've got two people living the life, both going after the same thing. In this case, you know what I asked myself today, Chev, was I asked, because, getting older, I asked, what if these were my kids? Because they were 18 at the time. I think she was 20. But they were kids. What if those boys were my boys, right? How would I feel? But then I asked myself, what if she was my daughter?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, there's a father right now that must have been just destroyed when the London police first dropped the charges and walked away. Yeah. And is probably so relieved right now that at least his daughter's going to have her day in court. And you and I both know, as a parent on either side, that this is going to be an ugly 8 weeks. Yeah. And we're going to hear things that we don't want to hear. And we're going to have other people deciding which one to believe. This one's just ugly, but I'll tell you what, Chev, I'm glad it's happening, because it's probably long past due that these things at least make it to trial and get investigated. It's not about the money. There was no cash settlement that ended the proceedings. This one's actually, we're going to actually get to the end and just pray that the I think it was 11 women and 3 men of the jury get it right.
Yeah, well, and it's so weird because there was actually some sort of settlement, some out-of-court settlement, but then the London police launched a review of how their own officers handled the case. So this is really going to rock, I think, not just the families of the alleged victim and those accused, but the whole system, right? Like the first domino to fall was when we found out that Hockey Canada had this reserve fund to pay out cases like this. But
But
when
why did the London police get back into it? Because it was a black mark on their record. They
Yeah.
looked bad. Everything that the women had been saying for years, you can't get a fair trial in a sexual assault trial. Nobody will listen to us. No one takes it seriously. And they had to say, you're right. We didn't take it seriously. This is a bad look, and this is a different time. We need further scrutiny. So, yeah, it's a historic trial.
Yeah, and you know, Trey puts that in the comments there. Five women and one man chosen for jurors. People are in an uproar about that too. I mean, everybody wants to pick a side. You, good guys and bad guys. We talked about it with Shannon Sharp. You try to make everything, and sometimes you just can't make it black and white and say, oh, well, that's 5 women. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean the boys are in for a rough ride because there's 5 women, but you could look at it that way. You know, when we talk about good guys and bad guys, Sheldon, this weekend, if we go to a little bit of a lighter note, was the ultimate contest between the ultimate good guy, the ultimate bad guy. We got to finally see WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. We talked about this, you know, a little bit of lead up. I know you're not the biggest wrestling follower, and neither am I, but I did a little bit of the lead up, you know, when we watched last year as The Rock came back and you know, they had the storyline with Cody Rhodes, and then The Rock becomes the bad guy. And then in the lead up to WrestleMania, John Cena in his retirement tour decides that he's going to flip. And it was a big moment. I believe, was that Survivor? No, that wasn't Survivor Series, Trey. What was that event where The Rock gives the throat slash sign?
Yeah.
And then it was
Elimination Chamber.
Elimination Chamber. And that was a great finish. No one saw it coming. The Rock, you know, he goes to shake Cody Rhodes' hand in the ring, or sorry, Cena does. And then next thing you know, he turns bad guy. The world was shocked. The ultimate baby face turned shocked. And then that led up to their tilt this weekend in WrestleMania, which I did see. And I'm going to tell you, Trey, I was a little underwhelmed with the whole thing. Of course, John Cena, he breaks Ric Flair's record, 17-time champion. It's the big deal. But man, that was a really underwhelming match to me. Can you give a little bit more insight from your perspective as a diehard wrestling fan, what we saw and where that leaves you as a fan?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I thought they kind of struck out this weekend. I thought even night one was pretty lackluster until the main event. I thought the main event was really good. But yeah, this event had so much hype around it. The Rock and Cena turning bad guy and Travis Scott and
well, wait a second.
Cold. I mean,
because a lot of people didn't watch this. So you mentioned The Rock. Now, The Rock had been part of the storyline for the Cody Rhodes storyline for the last 2 years. He's the one that basically turned John Cena bad. He, you know, Cody Rhodes refused The Rock's offer to become the bad guy, last sell his soul, all this stuff. And The Rock doesn't even appear in the signature marquee event of the. I don't get it.
Well, that seems to me like that must have been some kind of a mistake or something happened. Like surely they would have written him in.
Yeah, so The Rock was on the Pat McAfee show today, and basically like exposed the whole story that the only reason he was there at Elimination Chamber in the first place. First off, like completely burying kayfabe, like anything revolving kayfabe is completely buried with The Rock. So he just openly speaks like it's totally normal. And so he's just like, yeah, like Triple H called me saying that Elimination Chamber was low on tickets and they needed me. And so he just showed up and they quickly came up with this storyline and they turned Cena heel. And then he was like, well, I don't really fit into the story after this. And so I'm not going to show up. I don't think it's appropriate. And
is The Rock, is The Rock going through something? Is he kind of distancing himself? I know he's on the board. But
he's
on the board of
something.
directors.
If he's a board member, the board member's job is to make sure that the right thing happens for the advancement of the cause. And in this case, the WWE. That's a massive mistake. And it can't be a mistake because they're too smart people. There is something else going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
there has to be.
I agree. I have no idea how you have a storyline for like the last year, basically. And he's the whole storyline revolves around The Rock, and he doesn't show up. And like Travis Scott gets involved, and at the time it was like, okay, this is cool. Like The Rock's probably going to come out now, and then it was just Travis Scott, and then
It's just
he gets
dumb.
involved in the finish, and yeah, it was just bad.
You know,
Cena's moment got taken away because this should have been a big thing. Like beating Flair's record is a big deal.
And I'll say we didn't mention it last week, and we should mention it tonight. The Hall of Fame induction ceremony for Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin for their match. You know, when you think back to classic WrestleMania matches, this one, this won't even make the bottom. I don't think it makes the bottom 20 or the top 20.
Yeah, no chance. No chance.
It's one of the worst I've seen. For how significant it was for someone breaking Ric Flair's
live on Netflix. This was supposed to be the big one.
Yeah, it should have been the big one. It should have had Stone Cold, The Rock, and Cena winning, and Cody and Travis Scott and whatever else. All the big names. They had 20 million
controversy.
Yeah, they had 20 million viewers on Netflix all around the globe, and they.
Well, and the thing is, let's be real. Like, the WrestleMania production is never like the Raw production. There's no time for storyline. There's no time. So what you get in camera is kind of like, it's got to happen fast. It's got to happen quick. And it's got to be woven into the match pretty quickly. You can't have a guy grab the mic in the middle of the ring. It's not like the TV ones. But as for a match, it was pretty bad. In fact, when I look at the matches of the night, the best match was the triple threat match between Rhea Ripley. Who else was in there? Sky. What's her name?
Sky and Bianca Belair. Yeah,
Sky. That was an amazing.
Match was great, actually.
I thought that was probably the match of the night for me. And again, I don't follow it too much, but wrestling is missing a lot of that charisma. And then when you take the one night of the year that you don't even need charisma to run a WrestleMania. You just go match to match as long as you have well-planned matches. Like when Shawn Michaels, he lost. Who did he lose to? Stone Cold in WrestleMania when he tried to deliver the Sweet Chin Music, and then he got stunned. Like, those moments are huge moments that don't need any sort of charisma for, and they were missing all of that. Like, by the time Cena won the belt, he had already given like 5 attitude adjustments to that. It just did nothing for it really did. I was really underwhelmed. I was expecting something big for something I was so excited to tune into, and it just was flat. It was flat. And now Cena said his goal in the next year is to ruin wrestling. Well, it's off to a good start. But yeah, you mentioned Stone Cold. Here he is up here, Sheldon. So Stone Cold.
This is probably the best part. Yeah.
He's driving his 4-wheeler around the rink, and he just crashes it into the wall. And then you talk about, again, underwhelming. All they did was have him go up on the ring and read the attendance for the night and the night before. And that was his contribution. They played his music. He's like, hey, guys, everybody, I'm doing some quick math here. It's 60,000, 120,000. Thank you, son of a bitches. And then drinks the beer and leaves. That was.
Wow. Yeah.
It was cool. Just Stone Cold.
Was it really cool?
Cool, but
was it really cool?
Goosebumps to watch him come out there. I'm sure,
just
right?
Stone Cold himself is cool, but
it would have been cooler.
Involved in a
it would have been cooler
something.
If he would have stunned Travis Scott and then let Cena and Cody Rhodes beat the crap out of each other and then win
100%.
Sort of in a legitimate way, or even cheating, how he slammed him with the belt, but at least have Stone Cold do something. And I agree. So, but if you want to see something and you love live wrestling, you missed WrestleMania, guys, May 16th, there's a big event coming. It's to the Deerfoot Inn and Casino. It's a charity wrestling event. It's RCW Wrestling. I think Trey's going to put it up there. There's Calgary firefighters are going to be wrestling against the Edmonton firefighters. All the proceeds, and there's also going to be professional wrestlers there as well, the RCW promotion. This night at the Deerfoot Inn Casino is all in support of not just the Calgary Firefighters Burn Treatment Society, but the Alberta Firefighters Burn Camp. So this is a camp in which burn survivors, children, get to go for a free camp experience with other burn survivors, and it's a pretty fantastic thing. So this RCW Fire and Fury night at the Deerfoot Indian Casino. You can get your tickets there. I believe. Do you have the link, Trey, to throw up the Eventbrite link if you want to get up there?
I'll throw it in the comments over the break.
Yeah, and if you follow the Calgary Firefighters Burn Treatment Society, we put a post about that. But yeah, I used to love going to some of these live events in Montreal. Sheldon, have you ever been to kind of these smaller type wrestling events? Not the WWE stuff, but the church basement ones.
Not the smaller ones. I've heard some awesome stories about back in North Battleford where the fans get a little bit too over exuberant and start fighting wrestlers and stuff like that. But no, I haven't been to one of these small ones.
Yeah, I'm not in town for this one, to be truthful. My son has a lacrosse tournament in Red Deer, but I wanted to be there for this. But we should go see a live wrestling match. You know what, the dungeon wrestling we had Bret Hart's son on the show, Blade, that one time to talk about the dungeon promotion. So. Yeah. We should do this, but this one's a good one. If you like wrestling and you missed WrestleMania, I'm sure they're going to put on a show, and it's not going to be a dud like the one in Vegas. So hopefully WWE can rebound. But congratulations to John Cena, 17-time champ. Guys, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to wrap this up. Remember, click like, click follow, click share it with a friend. We're Chevy and Nasty. And we love being here Tuesday nights. Take a quick break. We'll be back.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
He's not back. There he is, sitting down, takes his time. I think you do this fashionably late thing. It's kind of your thing. It's
a long show, right? Like it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, we said in the poem that we tried to make it an hour show, and we're already at an hour. So let's rip through this thing. It's the third segment of the Ride with Chevy and Nasty. We're brought to you by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media. We love coming here every week. We always try to keep it an hour, but we go a little bit over. I don't know how we always wind up doing it, but lots to talk about, and that's where we go. So, Sheldon, you want to start with the studs and duds?
Yeah, let's hit our studs and duds.
Studs and duds.
And Chevy, I'm going to kick this one off because I love that you just led off with the Calgary Firefighters Burn Treatment Unit. My stud this week is actually the Calgary Fire Department. I think it was just last night or the night before. There was a fire in Southwest Calgary. The fire department responds to it, and they go in, and the family got out. There's a husband, wife, and 2 kids. Family got out, but the house was full of smoke, and they're like, we still have pets inside. The firefighters went inside the house and they rescued 2 dogs and a guinea pig. And it was really smoky. And they said that one of the dogs was okay. The guinea pig was fine, but one of the dogs wasn't doing well. It required actual resuscitation after the fact just to bring it back to life. And they actually revived the dog who's healthy and living here today. Just an amazing story. And Chef, I maybe want to ask you, are you trained? Like, first off, great. Like no people were seriously hurt. Their lives were changed forever. But resuscitating pets, I mean, for some people, pets are family. Are you guys trained on resuscitating dogs and animals and cats and things like that?
Yeah, we sure are. It's I'm laughing because it's a funny, sad story for me. It's more sad than funny, but when I became a firefighter, the first day before I became a firefighter, the day of orientation where we got all our uniform and all our textbooks and all that, I was flipping through, and I'll never forget, I flipped through and there was a section. It was like, oh, we're going to learn pet CPR, right? And then I flipped to the next session. Oh, we're going to learn vehicle extreme. But I remember the pet CPR, like flipping to it the first day I got the stuff. But then, you put the book away. The very next day, my dog had a heart attack. And in my arms, she died on our walk. And I just remember like wishing that I read the section because I was just so at a loss, right? So kind of a sad story, but we do train in pet CPR. We do tell people, this is a big concern for kids. Whenever we talk about making sure you have a home escape plan, that you and your family can get out to a safe meeting spot, the most important thing is getting the people out. And if everyone's out, then we will make sure that we're looking for pets. But if people don't have a home escape plan that everyone knows where to go and what to do, unfortunately for your pets, we're looking for the people first. So the best way you can help your pets out is to make sure you have a great home escape plan, that everyone is out safely. And then if you can grab your pet on the way out, grab it, but do not look for your pet. The smoke in house fires is not like in the movies where you can walk around looking for stuff. The smoke in a real house fire, it fills a room, it fills your lungs, and it will burn you and it will kill you. And so we tell everyone get out, and we have our thermal imaging cameras that help us locate body heat, and we can often look for pets as we did in this case. So yeah, it's we train for it. We train to search for pets as well as people, and we're also trained on providing that resuscitation efforts for the pets if they do inhale smoke. So this was a great story. They don't always end great, but a lot of them do. You hear a lot of stories about our guys pulling all kinds of animals out from people's homes. So, I appreciate the nod on that one.
Shout out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not even sure this week. I don't know. The only stud for me, because I haven't been really paying attention to the good news for me, this is almost like on my geeking out, is Disney released a whole bunch of Star Wars news. And if you're a big Star Wars geek like me, the fact that there's going to be a Darth Maul cartoon coming out, and Darth Maul was the character in the Phantom Menace that was a very instant cult favorite. He was the guy with the red face paint and the double lightsaber, and he kind of lived on throughout the series. If you follow the Star Wars, like, he didn't just end in that movie when he got chopped in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think the paint was super cool for sure, but the presence of the actor, like the presence that he brought to the film, was like, honestly, he was like one of the best short-lived villains ever in the Star Wars.
And but then he lived on. If you watch some of the other cartoons, the lore, he kind of continued on. Well, now they're releasing a new one, but also released information that next year there's going to be the Mando and Grogu movie, and that's the Mandalorian. That was very popular series on Disney Plus. Really well done. Pedro Pascal, who's probably right now one of the most popular actors of our time, makes some great movies. And then finally, they also released news that there's going to be a new Star Wars Starfighter movie that takes place a few years after the last Star Wars movie, and that is going to be starring none other than our top three great Canadian action heroes, Ryan Gosling, also of the Fall Guy fame. When we talk about our men's mental health movie night, he was the star of that movie. We talked about him a few weeks ago when we talked about Keanu Reeves as the greatest Canadian action hero, and now here he is, Ryan Gosling, big star, huge star. His childhood dream was to be in a Star Wars movie, and he's getting his dream come true. And for geeks like me, you couldn't be happier seeing them put some effort into another Star Wars movie. So that's my stud. Disney, this week you're my stud.
Who's your dud?
My dud, well, he was my dud last week because he broke the national championship trophy, and I guess I'm just gonna have a 2 weeks in a row. He's gonna take my dud. JD Vance, Vice President of the United States, he visited the Pope. Literally, he was the last person the Pope saw before he died. And so, if he, I think,
Not
I'm
the
gonna put
last
it-
person he saw.
I think he was the last person he saw. I think, yeah, there he is. Look at that look on his face.
Yeah.
Pope doesn't look too happy to see him. And the Pope died shortly thereafter. Now, I don't know what the timeline is, and I don't know what the conversation was had or what happened, but I'm just going to say, I think JD Vance, JD Vance was one of the last leaders to meet with the Pope, and then the Pope died. So he broke the trophy and he broke the Pope. That's what I'm saying. So JD Vance, you're my dad.
Wow. That's either the best take I've ever heard or the worst take I've ever heard. In JD Vance's, and this is a potentially.
Are you going to defend him?
Story. Well, no, I'm going to tell a personal JD Vance story. My
Okay.
brother was in town for Easter, and he says, "Oh yeah, so last year, it was last year, the year before, they were out on our original family home plot, homestead in Saskatchewan. They're setting up a yard there again, and these two guys pull up in a truck with I can't remember. He said it was Ohio plates or something like that. They get out and they're asking, "So are you guys is this the guide center?" And they're like, "No, that's down here a ways." He says it was JD Vance and another guy in Trump's cabinet that were coming up to, because they're big hunters, right? They're big hunters and they travel around. And you see American hunters all the time. In
Sure, they weren't looking for Greenland.
Well, yeah, no, that's why he said it was over there, right? But yeah, so my brother, he swears, I wasn't there. I can't prove it. I can't disprove it. But he's got that unique face that you've seen all the memes with, and he's like, and his name was JD. So he's convinced JD from Ohio that was asking to hunt on our land was JD Vance, Vice President of the United States. It's kind of a
Sounds
neat little story.
plausible. Sounds plausible.
My dad, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to take it down a notch from there. My fridge right now, when my mom came up, I told you how I cooked turkey dinner. Our ice machine conked out about 6 months ago, where it started working sporadically. And now every time I open my fridge, it sounds like there's air in the pipes and the compressor's going. It goes wom, 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 wom. Fridges aren't supposed to make sounds like that.
No.
But my problem is this. Growing up in Saskatchewan, which I lived for 20 years, I believe we had the same fridge in our house for those entire 20 plus years. I would come back from college and that fridge would be there. I would come back from the Riders and that fridge would be there. And the second fridge that we kept was something that my Baba and Guido owned that was like probably 40 years old. Fridges and appliances lasted forever. Chev, at Christmas, I had my washing machine and my range go in the same week, right? And we're not talking, it's not $1,000 for appliance anymore. It's thousands for a proper appliance.
Yeah.
My fridge, I am now on my third freaking fridge, dude.
That's crazy.
And as a real estate media guy, I look at these beautiful Samsung appliances that Trey's got up there for those touchscreen screens. You can spend $4,000 or $5,000 on one of these units. I'm afraid to. They do not last more than 7 years.
You know what you do, Sheldon? You know what you do? You buy all your appliances and electronics at Costco and just bring them back when they break. Costco has the best return policy. So at least if they break within the first year or two, I think you can bring them back.
Advice noted. That's where I'm getting my next appliance. Chev, you already gave us a dud.
Yeah, I gave you this JD Vance. And we're done with studs and duds. You know, the show's humming along. We're an hour and 12 minutes into it. We've talked about the men's mental health movie night. We talked about the wrestling. We've talked about the studs and duds. It's time for the Great Canadian. You know, we talked about in the last few weeks some of the great Canadian inventions, great action heroes. Great. Did we do movies yet? I don't think we did movies, but this week we want to talk about the great Canadian places. Now we said cities, but after talking to you, you want to talk about more than just cities, but let's start with cities. Sheldon, we see a couple of them there. Are any of these your great Canadian cities, or is there one that you've been to that's not on this list that you'd like to visit?
You know, in terms of Canadian cities that I've gone, like the major cities, right? Toronto is what it is. I was never a huge Toronto guy. I get that there's a lot going on there. I really like, for the major cities, I like Montreal. And I like Montreal because coming from Saskatchewan, where, believe it or not, Saskatoon is actually a close second on that list. Saskatoon is an amazing city, great music scene, great art scene. It's just a small city, right? But Montreal was the first time I was ever walking around a city where it felt like it had a buzz. Men and women alike look like they just walked out of a fashion magazine, out of a photo shoot. There's a combination of those old buildings, amazing restaurants. But my favorite thing about Montreal was whether you're at a hotel, at a store, at a restaurant, whenever the customer service in that city is on par with international cities like New York, where you can just where you're just well taken care of wherever you go, whatever language you speak. Back then, they just took care of you. So for me, Montreal is always is my favorite city to visit because they have so much going on. There's such an energy, and every time somebody served you, it was with pleasure, monsieur. Right, and I love that with pleasure, monsieur. It always made me feel special.
Yeah,
I don't know if you felt like that as a local growing up, but for me visiting there, it was there's nothing else like Montreal in Canada.
That's my hometown, and so I kind of put that aside when I think about great Canadian cities because I love it. I love going back. I love bringing people through Montreal, even though I haven't been there like as a resident in over 20 years now, maybe 20. About 20 years I haven't been there. It's changed a ton, but it's still beautiful. You go to Old Montreal, it's fantastic. But I'm going to think about places outside my hometown. I have been to most major cities in Canada. For me, the one I really enjoy and enjoy when I think about enjoy is because I got to see them as a member of a football team, traveling in. I loved Vancouver. I loved going to Vancouver. I loved always walking around Vancouver. I found, that buzz you say about Montreal. I always felt Vancouver had that type of buzz. You can walk down Robson Street and see some cool stuff and good eats. And Stanley Park is super beautiful. I always thought Vancouver was my favorite city to visit. I did get to go to Saskatoon, as you mentioned, and that's a really cool city. I've been out to the Atlantic provinces. I've been to Moncton, not the greatest city, kind of very on par with Hamilton. I've been to Halifax, super nice. But the city I've never been to, a major Canadian city I've never been to, is Victoria. And this got me thinking. On the weekend, Brittany's sister-in-law, she's from the island. And I'm thinking of Canada. When people think of Canada, like East Coast to West Coast, they think of, Newfoundland. They think of PEI and all that. And as they go across Canada, you think of Quebec City, Montreal, go west, Toronto, and in the prairies, Calgary, Edmonton. And usually everyone's vision of Canada, at least how I see things, ends at Vancouver. Does your Canada, when you picture kind of that coast to coast, include Victoria? It does.
Fact, I'm heading there in less than 2 months. So we go there. We started this annual trip with my buddy Cozy and
that's right,
Glenn Ballman, who was actually Canada's first original tech billionaire that started Envia.com, and like amazing story. We've got to get him on the show sometime. Yeah. So we fly out to Victoria. We don't spend a lot of time there, but then we take the drive up through Nanaimo to a little town called Banfield. It's south of Tofino. It's smaller. It's just being developed right now. And we go hang out on the island, and Victoria is awesome, but the entire island is worth, if you can get in a car and just drive around and stop at the little towns, eat at some little cafes, little restaurants, get to know some of the locals. There's tourism there, but it's not like at the level of, some of the tourist destinations you get to. It's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, dude, Glenn Ballman.
Glenn Ballman makes an appearance.
From Glenn Ballman, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be down there. He took us out deep sea fishing, caught my first salmons last spring.
That's awesome.
Banfield is this beautiful little up and coming destination. That's absolutely unbelievable. And just last year they completed a paved highway from Nanaimo out there. So like, let's say this year we might fly into Nanaimo, not Victoria. But it's a nice paved ride, few hours. And if you haven't been there yet, give Glenn Ballman a call and check out Banfield.
Now, well, thanks for listening, Glenn. We appreciate that you're here. It's the only one that matters on it. That's a great compliment. But I've been to the island. I've been to Parksville, I believe it is. I rode the ferry from Vancouver to the island, and I love Vancouver Island. I'd like to get back there again. I think it's sort of that real undiscovered sleeper destinations in Canada. And I feel very fortunate, though, that having played football for as long as I did, I had many opportunities to tour across Canada. All the cities that have a CFL team. I got to play in Moncton when we did the CFL Atlantic, and from that we got to tour. We went to PEI, we had Lobster. Like, I got to see many places. I have not been to Labrador. I have not been far north, which I'd love to do, but I also took an opportunity a few years ago to ride a Via train across Canada with my boys. And I never did the Great Canadian Driving road trip, but the Great Canadian train trip was a fantastic adventure. And you see a lot of real neat stuff. And for someone who just enjoys the ride, which is, not our podcast, but I think it's why we call it the ride, is just get in and go and see things along the way. Not just the destination, but how you get there. And seeing Canada by train was fantastic. And definitely, we have a beautiful country. Regan said, where's Regan's quote? That Calgary is the best all around. And, before I lived here, I knew nothing about Calgary. And then when I started living here, I'll agree. Calgary is the best city all around to live in. We got some big city problems coming in and we're trying to work on some things, as is every city in Canada. But still, for me, the best place to live is right here. When I think about my phase of life, with my occupation, my kids, the things we do, I love Calgary. Is that your feeling as well, Sheldon? You still like Calgary, rah?
I still get goosebumps when I head down Shaganappy on those clear mornings and you see the mountains in the background. Calgary is a beautiful city. Yeah, it's changed, it's grown, it's got its issues, but it's still a city that's built among the greats of the 1980s that were here when it was just 400,000 people that started this beautiful, enterprising city, along with all the people that have moved here from all over Canada, USA, and the world for opportunity. And yeah, we've been down for 10 years, but I still see Calgary as a city of opportunity with tons of beauty, ideas from all over the world coming in. Yeah. I love Calgary. Calgary's my home. It's my kids' home. I love the city for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that's a great way to end the night. We're from Calgary. We live here. We cheer for different sports teams because we've come from different places. You all join us from different places, whether it's people from Winnipeg, people from Montreal, people that are living on the island. Guys, we love having you every week.
Oh no.
I was trying to get us out of here.
Really quick.
But then the producer,
what did we get wrong? Folks, this is a live show, and Chevy and I don't do a whole lot of homework. So, yeah, Trey, let us have it.
You said that William Perry had passed away, and he is alive and well. I would just like to point that out.
Is he really?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I had to look it up.
I warned him. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. He is alive and well. And
wait. The Pope is still dead, right? The Pope is dead. We got that right?
Oh, I think so. Okay. Yeah. But he did wrestle in WrestleMania 2.
The Pope?
There you go. I knew it. All right.
The Pope, yeah,
right
of course.
Now.
Yeah, I'll give you those two. So yeah, I know you guys said you wanted to do this really quick at the end.
Yeah.
So
what else did we get wrong? Tell me what else we got wrong.
That's all I had written down. I
there
just
you go.
made a note of that because I was pretty sure William Perry was still alive and he was. So
that's hard for me to believe. A guy that played that hard in the 80s and was 400 pounds, that he's still alive. I don't know where I got it in my head that he wasn't, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, Trey, then we didn't do too half bad today. So I think we're going to give the last word to Todd Kozak. And I think this is a throwback, and you guys are going to hate me for this, but Calgary has rivers, and rivers have beaver, and beavers are what make this city so good.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week, guys. Again, social media at Chevy and Nasty. We got men's mental health movie night coming up. Make sure you vote if you haven't. We can talk about it next Tuesday. And let's hope the Oilers, the Habs, the Jets, and some other Canadian team moves to the second
let's go
round.
Oilers.
So we can keep cheering. Guys, love you all. Thanks for joining us.
300-pound poetry. Coming out of Easter weekend, we did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. Ovechkin iced the Habs with a beautiful overtime goal. Then the Oilers blew their game. WWE belt, fans were disappointed as The Rock didn't bother to show up. The Pope just passed away on Easter. Shannon Sharp accused of sexual assault. We can't cover it all. And that's not our fault. Because we are Chevy and nasty. Over the average person, we tower. This ride is our show. We try to keep it to an hour. 300-pound poetry coming out of Easter weekend. We did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets. And this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. But Ovechkin iced the Habs with the beautiful overtime goal. Then the Oilers blew their game after digging themselves out of a hole. John Cena broke Ric Flair's record 17 times. He lost the WE belt. Fans were disappointed as The Rock didn't bother to show up. The Pope just passed away on Easter. Shannon Sharp accused of sexual assault. We can't cover it all. And that's not our fault. Because we are Chevy and nasty. Over the average person, we towel. This ride is our show. We try to keep it to an hour. 300-pound poetry coming out of Easter weekend. We did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets. And this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. Ovechkin iced the Habs. Ovechkin the one to bow. Ovechkin iced the Habs. Ovechkin the one to bow. Ovechkin iced the Habs. 300-pound poetry coming out of Easter weekend. We did some big eating. We are 300-pound poets, and this is your Tuesday night meeting. The NHL playoffs begun, so place your bets. The early Canadian team favorite looks like the Winnipeg Jets. Oh, but Ovechkin iced the Habs.